Hello, I'm attorney Robert Patillo. I'm the executive director of the Rainbow Push Coalition Southeast region in the Atlanta office here in Atlanta, Georgia. I want to give you guys a quick update on many of the things that we are working on here in Atlanta to ensure that you guys know what Push is doing nationwide to help steward and guide us through both the pandemic, the economic depression, and also the social justice activism and demands for an end to police brutality that are happening nationwide. Rainbow Push is uniquely positioned as a human rights organization to work through all of these fields and bring together a national organization to fight for particular advancements, regardless of where you are in the country. In Atlanta, one of the things that we've been working on, particularly, is police brutality in the wake of the killing of Ahmaud Arbery in Brunswick, Georgia, the shooting of Rashard Brooks in Atlanta, Georgia, the beating of Roderick Watkins in Clayton County, Georgia, two college students who were harassed and tased by police during marches and protests here in Atlanta. And so we've been working with a coalition of groups, including the NAACP, the Urban League, Saving Ourselves, other community organizations, to put together a rubric which seeks to work with the mayor and city leaders and also the governor and statewide leaders on reforming our criminal justice system. As you know, most of these laws exist on the state level, while we focus very much on the federal level and what's happening in Congress. These issues have to be effectuated at the state and local level, and we're working to ensure that we reform police policies, reform training, create new hate crimes legislation to protect the community, to try to ameliorate or in other ways reduce the violent actions against the Black community. In addition to this, we're also holding training programs through our Civil Rights Boot Camp with younger activists to explain to them the importance of legislative action. What separated the movement of Dr. King and the Big Six from many of the other movements during the Civil Rights era was their ability to effectuate legislative changes. There's a difference between simply marching and protesting and being able to pass a Civil Rights Act, a Voting Rights Act, Fair Housing, Public Accommodation, Title VII, Title IX, and the other suite of legislations which help to create a more perfect union. And what we want to help our young people who are active in protests is how to be active during committee meetings, how to be active under the Gold Dome during legislative session, how to be active at City Hall to ensure that we can make some of these ideals, parts of this movement, into actual legislative changes that create long-lasting corrections to governmental actions. In addition to this, Rainbow Push in Atlanta has been specifically very focused on the issues of healthcare with regards to COVID-19 in the Black community. We put together an unprecedented collection of experts to discuss the response to COVID-19 with the Black community. Previously, we've had town halls, including our Public Health Committee of Dr. Deborah Furholden, Assistant Dean of Public Health at Michigan State University, Dr. Leon McDougall, who is the president of the National Medical Association, the nation's largest African-American medical association, to have discussions with people such as Francis S. Collins, who is the director of the National Institute of Health and who is directing the nation's response to this massive infection. Also, we've had conversations in town halls with Dr. Robert Redfield, who's the director of the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, to discuss the vaccine trials and the process of rolling such out going forward into the fall. On September the 22nd at 8 a.m., we'll be having our third part of this series with four-star United States Army General Gustav Perna, who is in charge and director of Operation Warp Speed, which is working towards the development of the coronavirus vaccine and its rollout into the community this fall. All of us have heard all the public health warnings saying that we will not be safe until there is an effective vaccine, which is rolled out nationwide to prevent a continued spike and continued outbreaks of coronavirus. So Director or General Perna is the person who's coordinating these efforts nationwide and will be participating in a town hall meeting with Rainbow Push with Dr. Furholden and Dr. McDougall on September 22nd. Additionally, on October 5th, we will be having the fourth part of our healthcare town hall series with Dr. Anthony Fauci, who's part of the coronavirus task force. So when you see the briefings with President Trump, Dr. Birx, Dr. Fauci is the director, is the chief infectious disease expert of the United States of America. He worked on the AIDS epidemic. He worked on Ebola in the 90s and again in the 2010s. He worked on SARS in the early 2000s. He worked on the MERS epidemic. He is the person who is the leading expert in the world, in fact, on containing the spread of pandemics and these viruses. And we'll be having a conversation with us on October the 5th at 2 p.m. With our panel to discuss particularly how this works for the African American community. We have to ensure not only that African Americans are part of the testing process to ensure that the virus or that any vaccine is actually effective, given the comorbidities in the African American community, given the genetic differences within racial populations. So we want to make sure that we are represented in those trials. And also, once an effective vaccine is rolled out, we have to ensure that there's access to it for all communities, that we aren't simply giving the cure, giving the vaccine to the rich and well off. What we've seen in the NBA bubble and the NFL, people with money and people with means have ways to exist despite coronavirus. They have the proper treatment, ventilators, PPE. You're able to defeat this virus with money. So we want to ensure that those of us who live in the regular world, in the regular community, are fully taken care of and have full access to all the medical advancements that are going on currently. Additionally, the Rainbow Push at Atlanta will be holding our 21st annual Creating Opportunities Conference on October 8th and 9th. This year will be a virtual conference that will take place over Zoom. You'll be able to register at RainbowPUSHAtlanta.org and also RainbowPush.org. And we will have discussions including Black farmers. There's an epidemic in this country of Black farms going out of business, not having access to markets, not having access to governmental resources. Over the past several months, we've been holding sessions with Black farmers and also elected officials, including Congressman Sanford Bishop, Congressman David Scott, the United States Department of Agriculture, the U.S. Farm Bureau. And the reason it's important to bring together these diverse sets is that our community is never hit with simply one storm at a time. We are never dealing with one fight. So while we're also fighting against a pandemic which disproportionately affects the African American community, we're fighting against an economic depression where 60 million people are out of work, which is particularly hard hitting the Black community, as our unemployment rate is always double what the general population's unemployment rate is. In addition to this, we're being hit with a foreclosure and a eviction crisis, which is being staved off by governmental action, but it's coming, and many people do not have a lifeline to survive this. We're also being hit by a student loan crisis. The people who went to school, who did the right thing, who got the degrees, now though, as the economy is in downturn, it's very difficult to make those student loan payments. There's governmental action which is delaying those payments through the end of the year, but we have to plan for what happens thereafter. So we try to make sure the Rainbow Push is in all of these conversations, as they say in Hamilton, that we're in the room where it happens. And so that we're representing our communities and ensuring that we have access to all the resources possible and we can give you the proper information. For more information on these, as I said, visit us at RainbowPUSHAtlanta.org. Follow us on social media. Feel free to email myself, R. Patillo at RainbowPush.org, or Trina Heathington, T. Heathington at RainbowPush.org, our program coordinator for the Atlanta office. And as always, keep hope alive.